creatures from the deep, and haunted pools. What lies beneath the water can drag you into a watery grave. Welcome to the Mostly Pod Out Night. Mostly, I am Graveyard, joined by my co-host Salem.
Hello.
This is episode 82 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. So whether you're miles underwater or taking a nice swim at night in your pool, you never know what might be reaching out below you. I know this is my own personal fear to be underwater, and these movies sure tap right into it. So we will be discussing Leviathan from 1989, I believe, Underwater from 2020, and Night Swim from a few days ago.
Yeah, with the express to digital transition. So
yes, I believe it beat out Exorcist Believer for digital release.
wow.
Barely.
Yeah, I will give it one. It was better than Exorcist Believer, but not by much. But yeah, I agree. I don't like open water. I don't like big water where I can't see the bottom and I know like things are living in it.
Yeah,
That I can't do that. If it's a pool, that's fine. I can see the bottom and shit. I'm not scared at all of that. But like open lake, open ocean, no.
Oh,
Nope.
I would be completely fucked if I was in two of these movies. Just how they even get me underneath the water to these stations, let alone try to survive getting out of them. There's no way. But you know, it's. I think it's time for me to have the movies that just make me uncomfortable for once, that aren't, you know.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that like people would have to like volunteer for those jobs. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't just like grab anyone. So I'm pretty sure you'd be safe.
Hell, if society ever goes, one in my lifetime, hey, we have to live in the water. I'm like, yeah, I'm staying up here. That's fine.
I mean, Waterworld, they had atolls. You know, there's people that still floated around. It'll be fine.
So. Oh, and for this week, our elves are oxygen tanks. Well, other movies have oxygen scrubbers or rebreathers. They're just ways to help you breathe, you know, overall, whether underwater or...
Oxygen tank sounds better than oxygen apparatus.
That's very true.
So...
like I said, it's nice to get into some of my personal fears instead of just, you know, bugs for you.
There was a bug.
That's why, I mean, yes.
Gross.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so let's get into Leviathan. Like I said, 1989. And realistically, I'd say pretty heavy cast, like star-studded cast, especially 80s.
Well, yeah, it's like a lot of 80s side characters are in the movie, for sure.
Yes. Yeah, and I didn't realize the doctor, the woman that was on the other side of the monitor, right? She plays the older lady in Jeepers Creepers 3 that touches the hand of Jeepers Creeper. And she's been in Rob Zombie stuff, too. So.
Are you talking the lady with the blue eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, she was in Dune. She was Lady Jessica in the original Dune, the 84 Dune, the David Lynch Dune.
It's been a very long time since I've seen that.
She's been in a ton of stuff. But,
yeah.
But yeah.
Ernie Hudson, Peter Weller, you know, Daniel Stern,
right,
and a couple of other 80s icons, as you said. So, but let's get into it. So essentially, they are what they say 3.7 miles beneath the ocean.
16,000 feet, however many miles that is. I don't know.
I think it's 3 point something.
Yeah.
And they are in the Bahama area.
I don't know if they say where they are.
I thought they're in the Atlantic. I know that.
Well, they would have to be.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So anyway, we are kind of get introduced to the only way I'd ever do an underwater movie is just me in a suit with not being underwater and doing mining equipment. They're essentially there to harvest parts from under the ocean. And
silver.
They
were mining silver, yeah.
And then you get 25 tons of it. And the rate they were going, I'm surprised they'd ever get to it. So they only had 3 days left on their shift.
Okay, well, we see like 30 seconds of their fucking shift. We don't know what they look like. Okay, no, okay, I'm just gonna. I won't really go into this in my bad points. I just want to bring this up now. When they get in the suits later in the movie, they say how much time do they have in the suits, right?
30 minutes max.
They said 30 minutes max. So you're telling me their entire fucking workday was less than 30 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the fuck? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Again, I was just like, what?
And how are they going to get 25 tons in 90 days for only 30 minutes worth of work at a day?
Right. I was just like, huh? But there's no way. There's no way that it was only 30 minutes. It's not possible. Maybe they like cycled in and out the two teams like every 30 minutes. That would make sense, I guess.
Yes.
They don't really, again, and we only see like 30 seconds of their workday, so I don't know. I mean, maybe that's possible. I'm just saying, like, why would you commit to like working underwater for 30 minutes at a time? That's ridiculous.
Yes. So anyway, a guy played by Marco Carmine is essentially losing oxygen. He's losing pressure. And he starts freaking out and hyperventilating, rightfully so. And we see Peter Weller is kind of the control room, the eyes and ears.
Well, honestly, I don't think there was anything wrong with his suit. I think his rebreather was fine. I think it was just the software was going crazy and like resetting on and off and on and off. But as we saw, he was fine when they pulled him out of the suit. I think he just had like major panic attack and passed out.
Well, I mean, if you're miles underwater and you told your suit's gonna like fail, I'd be having a panic attack.
Oh yeah, I'm not in any way saying that he didn't deserve to have a panic attack. I'm just saying I don't think there was actually anything wrong with the suit.
Right. So anyway, we introduced like, oh, the doc's not here. He's like put a post-it on his monitor. The doc is out. Like, where is he? Like, how big is this facility underwater? Anyway. So eventually they get the guys back in, and you don't kind of see their chamber where they enter and fill the water. But anyway, he gets out there. He gets kind of told he's fine and all that stuff. So anyway, then we just get kind of the exposition dump of every character that we get in this movie, right? It's kind of like I guess the best way of describing this is Aliens but underwater.
Okay, here's how I would describe it. I actually wrote it down. It's basically Aliens and the Abyss.
Yes.
Or no, sorry, Alien, the first one. Yes. Alien and the Abyss with the monster effects of The Thing.
Yes.
That is the movie.
The effects done by Sam Winston, so he's awesome creature effects guy.
Right. Well, I'm just saying that's the exact. If you need a description, yeah, that's what it is.
So anyway, I said they're having camaraderie. Peter Weller's character loves adhering to the rules. He has everything memorized. He just starts throwing out like section 5, paragraph 3, word 2A.
Well, I think as we see, like he doesn't. He's a geologist, right?
Right.
They brought him in to try to increase the yield of the mine because it wasn't doing so well.
Yeah.
He's not a manager. As we see, like he's reading books about like how to be a better manager and shit like that, and he doesn't know how to do that. We see him like practicing what he's going to say in front of a mirror because he's not a manager; he's a geologist.
Right.
But they put him in charge, so he has to try to be in charge. So he's like trying to be in charge, and I think because he's a smart guy, he just like memorized the fucking manual as like that's taken care of. Now I can try to, follow the rules and try to be a good leader by just following these rules.
Yeah. And it's fair because he's working with a doctor who essentially was like barred from practicing unless he went there, and it's the only place he had left, plus a union, plus dealing with the corporation that is doing all this work. So he's the middle manager, as you said, as geologist. So anyway, they go back out just to look for a sample of something, right? Six Pack and Bowman, right? Williams. And Bowman. While they're looking at it, they explode. He kind of just Six Pack, played by Daniel Stern kind of falls off like the ledge, right? And he goes through what looks like, that's where to describe it, like tubers, right? Or coral reef, if you will. I don't know how to describe it. Like the fish that kind of just
they called them tube worms. I don't know if that's a thing or not.
It is. But they're giant.
Yeah.
Taller than the people size, which is not supposed to be possible. Anyway, he gets lost. Like, oh man, she only has like 20 minutes left. How much, does he have left? And all this stuff, trying to find him. Like, oh, you have 5 minutes to try to go find him before you got to head back. Which, once again, airtime is, if you have 5 minutes to get back, I mean, you only have 25 minutes of the day to be out there.
Right. Like I said, the whole 30-minute thing doesn't make sense to me. I guess they're just trying to put an arbitrary time limit on things to try to put like a sense of urgency on them.
Yeah.
Because that time limit really doesn't come into play much. Like, this is really the only scene where it does. They talk about it quite a bit, but that time limit never actually really does it.
Correct. So anyway, he finds a Russian sub, I believe. It's a sub?
It's just a boat.
It's just a boat. And it's in Russian. They have video feeds, and he finds stuff, and he's like, oh man, I found this great haul. They kind of go get it, and they look up the boat, and it's Leviathan, hence title of the movie. It's like, oh, this was lost in the Baltic Sea, or active in the Baltic Sea. They're like, no, it's right here. Are you sure? Yeah, I can read. It says right here. Anyway, so they get the loot. They confiscate the bottle of vodka that's on there, and they, have a long little thing where they, eventually get it out, and four of them drink it because the exercise woman did not want to drink it. So,
well, okay, that one was just replaced with water by Peter Weller. The other people that drank that one, nothing happened. There was a separate flask that Six-Pack found that nobody else saw, and he put it in his pocket.
Yeah.
Right. But the other lady, Bowman, saw him do it. So, yeah, later on that night, he goes in his bunk and drinks by himself, but she catches him because she knew that he had it.
Right.
And so she makes him give her some, too, which is where the next steps happen.
Yeah. So eventually, he gets she puts a bug into his bed, too. He starts freaking out. So anyway, long story short, he starts feeling sick, right? And he starts having a little bit of lesions here and there. And the doctor's like, oh, it's kind of like scales, which is weird. But anyway, he just, continues to go about that. And I'd say that he, gets the medical check, and he just kind of lays down on the sheet, just kind of rest in the med bay. Anyway, Bo, who is also her hair starts falling out.
Well, okay, I get before that, the dude dies. He dies within 8 hours.
I mean, she doesn't know that though.
No, not at this point. I'm just saying, but the doctor knows that. Like, he dies within 8 hours. Like, this is a disease that whatever it is kills a person in 8 hours.
Mutated him too. They said that in the cellular level. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because there's things happening, and then anyway, because she was next in line to get tested, because he's testing everybody to see if they all have these lesions, to see if anybody else is infected.
Right.
And then she was next in line to get tested, and when she goes in there, she starts feeling bad, and then she goes to check on Six-Pack and show him that, hey, all my hair is falling out. She sees that he's fucking, 1, dead, and 2, like, modified in some way.
We get our first hint of body horror right here, with his arm being like torn open with like the tendons and everything.
Right. And then she basically lays down and then gets super duper sick, and then
kills herself. Yeah, she kills herself. Right. So anyway, Peter Weller's going to talk to the corporation, like, hey, I know we are doing this. We have to do an emergency evac. And the corporation's like, I'm sorry, there's a hurricane going up above. So no, it's going to be 12 hours. 12 hours will be there. Okay. And so he's telling everyone, cool. And then, like I said, this is the doctor in this is the Wilfred Brimley of this movie, to say the least.
Well, I mean, that's not fair because Wilford Brimley was infected and he was fucked up later on. But you mean like he was the one that knew what was happening and was trying to stop it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, he didn't sabotage it. He did what he was supposed to do.
Well, we'll get to that. So anyway, yeah, they're like, oh, she's dead. So kind of anyway, they kind of somehow, I don't remember how her body gets on top of his, but they start like
nobody knows. Like they went back in the room, she was out of the body bag that they put her in, and then they went in the other room, and she had now merged with Yeah, so she like stood up, walked over, and then slapped herself up against the other guy.
Right. And they're like, okay, we gotta get rid of the corpse and start putting it into the decompression chamber that they have. Now I can think of the word. And it's alive, it's moving. Oh, it's alive. And they put it there in like a tentacle or a claw gets kind of cut off, right? That's what happens.
Well, it looks like a leg, like a mutated leg.
What it has like eye and mouth off the cut off end.
Right.
So anyway, they kind of just go about the day and they realize, this is kind of what happened. Like the doctor goes, okay, we need to get this going again. And he kind of calls back up to the corporation like, oh, it's going to be 48 hours before we can get to you. Like, yeah, they left us here to die. Essentially. Anyway, his name is De Jesus, goes into the kitchen and he gets attacked by some like lamprey type thing and starts like burrowing into his chest. And he's flailing about, taking off hoses and who knows what all with him. They kind of try to, take care of him. Ernie Hudson's character tries to take care of him, but no, they kind of lock him into there. And he tells the other guy, hey, you gotta watch him. I gotta go get help. And they come, go get help, come back, and the door is like just ripped open from just like obliterated, and escaped like this heavy bulkhead. And the guy shows up like, where? He's like, oh, he's getting a weapon. He has, I guess, like a mini chainsaw.
I guess it's like a chainsaw that's like 12 inches long, but the body of it is like 4 feet long,
right?
And the chainsaw edge is like not even a foot long.
Yeah. So anyway, they later find out that the creature went after their blood because it needs blood to survive. So essentially, it's feeding off the people. Like, right.
But also that it's absorbing some level of memory and or instinct from the people that it's absorbing.
Right, because it knew it had to get the code to be able to get to the blood supply, right. I believe, or the key, or something like that.
Or even that it knew the blood supply was there because it was locked in a fridge.
Right.
It's not like it would have been able to smell it or anything.
Yeah. So anyway, they start kind of gearing. Oh, sorry, I don't gear up. This is the point that like the doctor is like Brimley destroying all the radio equipment. He ejects all the escape pods so they cannot bring it to the surface, which is technically following best practice, right?
No, he is. Yeah. He understands how dangerous this is, and he's like, we should, like, we're dead. Like, there's no, we cannot get out of this.
Right. So anyway, I believe at this point in time, how does Cobb get injured from the throwing the body away?
No, it basically, like, at this point, after the Jesus gets out, they know it's like in the facility, so they're like marching around after they get armed. They're looking around for it.
Yeah.
And then there's like a couple of like sightings / attacks where they get away, but in one of them, that guy gets scratched across his chest.
Yeah.
And then like later on, he's like, "Oh, it looks fine. It looks like you're healing." And then like I don't know, what is it, like an hour later, all of a sudden there's like an alien coming out of his chest.
Right, and it's once again alien. It's
right.
His stomach is
literally
moving.
It's literally the scene. Something comes out of his chest, and then he becomes a monster. But then he also attacks the doctor, and then the doctor also becomes the monster.
Right.
So then the only people left are Ernie Hudson, Peter Weller, and Williams.
Yeah. So, and I said, as you said, they gear up and think of flamethrowers with aliens, but flamethrowers under the water, and that's what we got to go into different levels.
Right. I'll talk about that later.
They also try to see what the weather is like above them, and it's blocked, and then they got an article saying that they're all dead, even though they're not. The mission, the corporation goes, yep, they're all dead, nothing to see here.
Essentially they knew that, okay, they're blocking us from like finding information out about what's going on, so they found a back door by looking in financial records to see how the company's stock was doing.
Right.
And that's when they found an article from the Financial Times or whatever saying, oh, all the people on there died, and they're still waiting for an explanation as to how. And they literally listed their names.
Right. But anyway, Peter Weller was able to bypass and get an SOS out to the Coast Guard. They're like, okay, we're going to escape. The creature's destroying all vital things. We're going to die. It's going to implode and all that stuff. All right, so we're going to take our dive suits, and then, yes, we won't be able to make it all the way, so we'll have to jettison and take these like breathers and get to the rest of the surface. So they go that as they're trying to get into the suits, the creature comes, and as it's trying to attack Peter Weller, he kind of gets, jamming the button to get down, and it kind of takes off like the first bottom half of its face, I would say. And they escape, and they get through there, and they jettison, and they make their way up to the surface. And they go, okay, here comes the Coast Guard, and they're here to rescue us. Cool. And all of a sudden, the creature is up in there and starts attacking them. Williams gets onto the ship, and Peter Weller is fighting the creature off of poor Ernie Hudson, who does not make it.
Well, Ernie Hudson basically sacrifices himself so that they can get away. And Peter Weller does come back after he puts Williams on the helicopter, but
right, with a flared shoves in the mouth open wide.
Right, but like Ernie Hudson, the most unnecessary and lame death in the movie.
Yes.
Like he just goes like blub blub and just like sinks.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
Yeah. So anyway, the two survivors, Peter Weller and Williams, make it to their corporations. Like, I knew you'd make it. How are you feeling? Yeah, better, much better. If he slocks her in the face.
Well, okay. Now this is big for the 80s. A guy like closed fist punches a woman. This is big.
End of movie. Not too bad. I said I've only seen this once now. It's entirety. And my first thought immediately was, as we discussed, Alien, but underwater mixed with The Thing. Yeah, you're an abyss.
Well, it's Alien taking place in this set from the abyss.
Yeah.
With the creature effects of The Thing. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
And it's funny is as we typically do research and we Google things, like I just got a notification from Google News that Leviathan is being released on 4K. I'm like, oh, that's coincidence. It's a movie I feel like it's kind of shoved under the rug that a lot of people don't seem to talk about. And I don't know why. Like I said, the effects were great. The story was good, and it's still terrifying in its own right.
Well, okay. I think there's two things going against it. One is that there's no big name stars in the movie. Like nobody broke out from this movie. You know what I mean? Like Peter Weller. I mean, I love Peter Weller. I watch a lot of like just about everything that Peter Weller's in, but like his big break was RoboCop before this, and there wasn't a whole lot after, right? So like he wasn't a big name. I mean, and you're looking at this, Ernie Hudson and Daniel Stern. They're not big name. They're not leading man people, right?
Yeah,
they're great actors. Don't get me wrong, but they're not somebody that you're going to watch this movie because of them.
That's fair,
right? Yeah, I mean, so I think that's why I was watching it, like trying to say, like, okay, usually when there's something like this, when nobody ever talks about it, there's something weird in the movie that is like, oh, there's the reason, right? Like, okay, why don't you ever see Short Circuit on TV?
Yeah,
right? It's because Fisher Stevens, a white guy, was wearing brown face, pretending to be an Indian guy, right? Yes. That's not okay now. In the 80s, when it came out, it was fine. That was a thing that people did as a comedy bit, right? Yes. Now, that's not okay. That's why you never see that anymore. Even though it was a huge movie back then.
Right.
Now it doesn't exist. That's why. I was waiting for something like that in this movie, but there isn't. There really isn't.
No.
I don't know why. I think it's just because there's not a big name in it.
side character of the movie.
Well, I mean, I love all these people. I love Peter Weller, but again, there's not a whole lot that is going to sell it, right? Like, if you want to, if people are looking at the cast, they're going to go, okay, like, why do I care? Like, again, exactly,
right. No, I mean, is that that's where you got in the rewatch of this? You were just looking for that.
Yeah, I mean, I watched this movie when it came out. Yeah, like again, I had watched RoboCop. I loved Peter Weller since then. I watched like everything. I watched it several times back then in 1989 when this came out, and I have not watched it since. I've thought about it since then, but I have not actually watched it.
So like 34, 35 years since you last saw it.
So like I've searched for it a couple of times, and it just never existed. I could never find it anywhere. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm not watching it. So I never actually got around to watching it, but now I did. Yeah, and it's good. It's one of those movies I'm surprised that it was as good as I remembered it to be. You know, because usually when you're a kid, you watch it, you're like, wow, I had bad taste as a kid. Like, this movie sucks. But no, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
All right, I'll go into my highlights first. I mean, the cast. I liked everyone in the cast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I recognized pretty much everyone in the cast, and I enjoy that. You know, even big names, like I said, Daniel Stern, everyone knows Daniel Stern, but kind of being the first to die, I mean, at this point, he was the third most name in this movie?
Yeah, I mean, but well, I don't know. It's like him and Ernie Hudson would have to like thumb wrestle to see who the billing would be, because I think they're at the same level at the time.
Right. And you know, Sam Winston, the creature effects. The creature effects were great. It is very reminiscent of The Thing, but less alien, more sea creature esque.
Right. Yeah. It's like if The Thing was you know, the creature from Black Lagoon.
Right. And like I said, I enjoy the fact that they didn't try to. I mean, yeah, I think the effects of to be underwater were still pretty good. With the particulate every once in a while. I mean, obviously you knew that they weren't underwater.
Well, okay. I'll talk about that. But it goes back and forth. Some scenes it does. Some scenes you can tell it's just them walking around in goofy suits. Yes. And they just put like a water effect on the camera. Like I said, it goes back and forth.
I mean, there were definitely scenes that were filmed underwater.
There were some. Yes.
Without a doubt.
All the mining scenes were not.
Yeah. Like I said, and I think the characters were good. I think they acted to their part. I felt like, you know, that the middle manager geologist, you know, paid by Peter Weller, did a great thing. I think everyone was there by choice, and it really gave you the sense of being stuck underwater. I said, and that's like I said, being a fear of mine. Yeah, that hit home. Like, I would not want to be in that situation in the least bit. And it kind of shows how shitty corporations can really be. You know, like, oh, they're all dead. It's not because she knew. I mean, they were lying through their teeth. They're like, oh, they're all dead. Yeah, maybe they knew about the contagion, maybe they didn't. If they knew, they wouldn't have just let them come on board right away. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they really didn't know. And, you know, like I said, you know, the doctor destroying the stuff. Yeah, you are... You have to be sacrificed for the greater good, unfortunately, because this thing cannot escape. Those are my highlights. What about yours?
Yeah, I will agree with you. The cast was great. I mean, the cast was fantastic. Again, I don't know why this movie never made it to like present day. Like, nobody talks about it because it's fantastic. Yeah. I really liked that there's still unions underwater. Like, there's literally like guys like quoting like, oh, you know, we can't work a whole day and then do maintenance down here. Like, that's against union law. You know, like, again, it was like they're following the union rules, and it was interesting. Not many movies have actual unions with like union rules in them.
No.
But yeah, it was interesting that their union steward is actually down there with them all the time to like make sure stuff is happening, which was good.
Yeah.
The infection part, man, I think just, you know, getting through the pandemic, right? It's like, as soon as you see Daniel Stern as sick as he was, and it's like the doctor is not wearing a mask, you're like, what the fuck? Put your mask on. What is wrong with you? Like, you know, you're gonna like get infected. And then the only time anybody wears a mask in this movie is like when Peter Weller goes to look at Six Pack's body, the fucking doctor never wears a mask. Like, what is wrong with you? Why is not everyone wearing one of these? What is going on? I guess it's just because of the climate that we just recently came out of. I think that's why you notice it.
The doctor should always be wearing a mask, though.
Yeah. But back then, like, I didn't even think about it. Like, oh, that sucks. Like, but I guess now it's different. It's a different story. Now I have to repeat my favorite line from the movie.
Okay.
It's the scene where Peter Weller, Williams, and Ernie Hudson have barricaded themselves in the command room, and they finally talk to the corporate lady, and they're asking, how long is it going to take for them to get out? And they're like, well, the hurricane's going to be 48 hours. And then she goes, I'm sorry, it seems like you guys have gone through hell. And then Ernie Hudson says, gone? Bitch, we still here.
Yes.
I had to fucking pause the movie. I was laughing so fucking hard. Ernie Hudson, that was the best line in the movie by far. It was fucking great.
Yeah.
And I will say I really did enjoy the creature effects. I thought they were cool. I'll agree with you with there. I remember I was waiting for them to be bad, right? So I was like, oh, okay, Peter Weller's the star. This is in 1989. I bet you these effects are going to be fucking horrible. I remember them being fun, but like I was a kid. I didn't have any taste. But no, they were actually surprisingly good. They held up. It was great. I'll roll into my low points and then I'll hand it back over to you. Okay, yeah, like you said, the underwater effects, for the most part, were good. Sometimes were bad. Like all those mining things, you could tell they were not underwater. Like things were behaving as if they were not underwater at all. It was like a goofy filter they put on the camera. I don't know what the hell it was, but it was like a couple of white dots go past and you're supposed to be it was underwater, and that didn't really fly with me. Now, this movie does what a lot of movies do back then, including the movies that it draws from, like Alien and stuff, where it has magic computer AI.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, beep, boop, boop, boop. What is this computer? Oh, it's genetic alteration. Like the fucking computer's going to know from like fucking reading. Like,
now.
Right. Like that big old CRT fucking green screens, these big old clicky keyboards, computers that are like the size of this fucking mining facility. Beep, boop, boop. How do I do stuff? Dot matrix, give you fucking, AI questions and shit. It drives me nuts because all these movies do that. Like any sci-fi movie of the 80s always does that.
Well, clearly, Jeff Goldblum's character legacy lived on with his really awesome computer.
All right. I will also say the headphone gag. They did the headphone gag 3 fucking times in this movie.
Yes.
Okay. One time, whatever. It's a cliche. I get it. 3 fucking times in the same movie. Like, get a new fucking script. What are you doing? You're just recycling the same scene. Like, Ernie Hudson gets surprised with the headphones. Williams gets surprised with the headphones. The fucking other guy, Cobb, gets surprised with the headphones. Like, what the fuck? It was like, oh, I don't know what to put in this part. Headphone gag. Okay. Why the fuck would you have flamethrowers in an underwater facility?
In case you need to spot weld something really fast.
A flamethrower? No, you'd have a fucking welder. Not a flamethrower. These were specific. They were made to be flamethrowers.
Yes.
Why would you ever need a flamethrower in a fucking underwater facility? Like a mining laser? Sure. They don't exist, but I can see that, right? Like you said, a welder? Got it. Understood. A flamethrower? No. You should never have open fucking flames in an underwater facility that has like pure oxygen spraying out of your fucking life support systems and shit. There's no way. There's no way. And there's a bunch of them. It's just ridiculous.
Yes.
And then again, like I said, the ending was just very lame. They get to the top of the water, right? Immediately, sharks. Like immediately they start punching sharks. I'm like, really? Sharks are not that fast. Like they would not show up in 2 seconds. And then just Jones, and Ernie Hudson's character, just such a lame death. Like he doesn't even get like a bloody Nope. He just blub blub. just sinks.
And he's dead.
Blub blub, and then Peter Weller gets the one-liner and to kill it. And yeah, just let him sink to the bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. What do you got?
Okay. I mean, yes, Ernie Hudson's death absolutely was atrocious. Okay. Now, I'm no scientist and I'm no diver, but when your body's underwater for 3 miles, your rate up is a lot longer than a couple of minutes.
Okay, now this gets explained away because when they were coming up, there's a little sign on their suit that goes beep boop decompressing. Totally explains everything.
Except it's not that fast.
Okay, we get it. I'm just saying, the people who made the movie were like, oh shit, people are going to understand decompression doesn't work like this. What do we do? Okay, we'll cut to a scene where it goes beep boop, decompression. There we go. See? It's the future. Decompression is immediate.
I'm like, no, they're dead. They're going to get the Benson dock.
Yeah, but I was looking at that. I was like, I bet you they think that explains everything.
Yes. I guess the reanimating of the corpses doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like it's yes, it's mutation and it's supposed to be a virus, but it's so fast acting, it's absurd.
I mean, it is, yeah. But I will say, at least it has very minimal of like people like trying to like communicate with them. You know what I mean?
Right.
There is only like really one scene that does that, and it's the Jesus, and he was the one guy who didn't die.
Yeah.
Or we didn't see die. Like he just like got assimilated. So it makes sense that he would probably still be kind of sort of conscious because it wasn't that long since then.
Now, I don't know what magic that this creature had that's able to just bend out a bulkhead like that and tear through it.
But here's the funny part
of them having superhuman strength.
Right, like, okay, Jesus did that when all he had was a lamprey attached to him. So somehow the lamprey blasted through the fucking blast door, right? But when they barricaded themselves in the command door, all they could do is bang, bang.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck happened to your door bending strength?
Right. Yeah, that bothered me. And they're just like the only difference between the back of the chainsaw and the flamethrower was the same. It was the same thing, except the chainsaw had a little 12-inch like triangle chain.
Exactly.
Flamethrower.
Right.
Which most of them were not on. If you watch it closely, they were not actually lit.
No. And the chainsaw never got moved. Like the chain never moved.
No,
they never even used it once.
It was like a reciprocating saw that just vibrates.
Right. Like the one guy used it to cut through the tentacle, but it never moved.
Yes.
They just like had sound effects, but it never actually worked. So they were non-functional.
Correct. Their weapon weapon/equipment were nonsensical for what they were doing.
Correct. Yes, very much so.
I will give them that. Those are my low points. Oh, also, I'm sorry, it's 1989. Yes, you clearly have a magical computer, but your relay miles above the water is not going to be that fast. You have to have real-time conversations with people.
I don't know. It's the future, man.
I guess. So that's what I got.
If you got wires going all the way down, like if you got the transatlantic lines, then you got one of them coming down to your facility, you'll be fine.
Sure. All right. So, number of oxygen tanks out of 10 for you. What do you give it?
I don't know. I love this movie as a kid. I still like it. I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't like cringe at it, which sometimes happens. So I was very happy with this movie. I will give it a 7. I'll give it 7 oxygen tanks out of 10.
I will actually agree with you. I will also give it 7 oxygen tanks out of 10. So my first time really seeing it all the way through. It's something that I can rewatch, absolutely. And this is kind of going to go on the questions. Sometimes we ask people what an underrated movie is, Leviathan.
Right. People are going to be like, what? Who?
Oh, you mean The Abyss? No,
not The Abyss. Because the Abyss is arguably not really a horror movie. It's more like First Encounters, but underwater.
Right. Yeah,
with a crazy Michael Biehn.
Oh yeah, this movie needs to have the limelight again. I think it deserves a lot more recognition than the abysmal recognition that it has right now.
We need to bring back all the Peter Weller classic movies, like this one, like Screamers that we watched earlier.
Right.
Great movies. Everybody should watch them.
I agree. And it's it's rare for us to say there's an old movie like this that even at 7 we're saying go and watch it. Like you guys need to watch it. You really do. So all right. Well, Mr. Salem, why don't you bring us to Underwater?
All right. Underwater. Pretty new. I think it was this no, I think it was during the pandemic, right? It was
2020.
It was the very beginning, I think. Anyway, so Kristen Stewart, yes, that Kristen Stewart is in this movie. With a very, very short haircut. Anyway, so basically she's like a mechanical technician. She does not really clear what she does, but she's some kind of engineer.
She's a mechanical technician enough to know how to reset computers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she knows how to like hack doors by opening computer consoles and touching wires. So anyway, so she's like, the movie opens up like basically giving you like a montage showing what's going on. Basically, there's this big corporation that builds a mining drill that goes all the way to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. That I don't know what they're mining for. They don't really say, but whatever. They're trying to make mining on the seafloor a thing, and they go all the way down the Mariana Trench. So again, this is the deepest that it goes. It's super far down. I don't know how far. I think they said like 6 miles.
6 point something miles. It's in the Mariana Trench, essentially.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, essentially, they're all underwater in this big facility. There's like hundreds of people that live and work down there, so it's like a big place.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, she's like brushing her teeth. And then all of a sudden, water starts dripping from the ceiling, which is very bad. If you're and all the way down that far, if water is dripping from somewhere, catastrophe is about to happen. So she immediately starts running, and rightfully so. So yeah, basically the place that she's in starts falling apart and imploding, and she's like banging on doors, like telling people to leave and whatever, and no one is coming out because I think it's like off shift change, so like either they're asleep or they're at work. So she's running through, like one other person manages to like catch up to her. They get all the way down to like the control room with like the the kind of shut off door. And you see a couple other people running, but they're like obviously not going to make it. Like you can see things imploding behind them. So they basically have to shut the door. But I mean, the implosion is so violent and catastrophic that they like the shockwave knocks them out and like ruptures their eardrums and everything. I mean, it's bad, not good.
Yeah.
So they come to. So it's Kristen Stewart and I forget Ronaldo, I think his name was, or something
like that.
Whatever. So they are the only two survivors from their whole section. Everybody else is gone. So they start like trying to get to like the next level where like the control room and the the escape pods and everything are, so they can find out what's going on. As they're going through, they see a lot of things have broken and changed, and there's like passageways that are sealed off and destroyed, blah blah blah. As they're going through, they find another tech person. This one she actually knows, who is played by T.J. Miller, because he was still okay in 2020. So they rescue him. So then the three of them manage to make it to the control room, where the captain is still there because he's like going down with the ship kind of thing. So they manage to meet up with him. They basically make a plan to go to the actual drill site, which I guess is like a separate facility that should be fine. Like if this place goes under, that drill place should be fine. It's a completely separate facility, but they do have to get in their underwater suits and walk there, which is dangerous because some of the people have no experience in the suits. Again, with all the damage, they don't know if there's going to be enough suits, if the suits are going to work, blah blah, whatever. So they made up with two other people who are like, I guess, the control room technician type people. And they basically all suit up, and they try to, first they have to go all the way down to the bottom because I guess they were like another mile up. So they have to go another mile straight down to get to the floor of the trench before they can walk to where the drill is. So after they get out in the water, immediately Ronaldo dies because his suit like had a tiny little crack that they didn't see. He implodes, squish, dead.
Or Archive 81.
right. So they get in this like big elevator thing. They're taking it down. This is where we get our first glimpse of there's some kind of like monster.
Yes.
They get a little distress call. They stop. They see the other elevator is all messed up. There's like this weird like ectoplasm-y stuff around, and they find this little monster that they end up shooting, and they bring inside with them. It looks like a little, chest burster.
Oh yeah, thing. It's a chest burster, but that lives in water.
Right. Yeah. So they're like, okay, well, this is the thing. Like, I wonder if this is what's going on. But anyway, the big mama version of it is like then trying to get into their elevator. So they start going down again. Then they run out of power and they put it in neutral, but they're still not quite getting towards the bottom. And this thing is still like attacking and messing with their elevator. And essentially then it gives out and they have to, quickly suit up and then get out of the elevator before it hits the ground so they don't die. So they get out. They walk to their other like substation, which is gonna like, I guess there's like a track that goes from there to the drill. So they manage to get in there. They get on the track. They're going down, and then it curves down, and it's flooded. And they get the train doesn't go in there anymore. They have to go underwater. So as they're going underwater, and TJ Miller ends up getting attacked by the monster and he gets killed.
Yeah.
So then they're going through and they get to the end of it. And then this is where they now have to go outside and walk to the other, the drill location. So they're walking out there. They get attacked by the monsters. The captain gets dragged up and his suit explodes because he's decompressing too fast.
Yeah.
Kristen Stewart survives, but she gets separated from the other two. And the one guy, he has a slightly malfunctioning suit, so he can live through it, but I guess like he's not getting enough oxygen to like stay conscious or something.
Yeah. So his scrubber's kind of broken-ish.
Right. Yeah. So he can survive. He's getting enough oxygen to live, but he can't be like conscious, whatever. So he's like, whatever, out of it. So the one girl is Colleen Wing is dragging him to the other place. She meets up with the other because she had to go to like some other facility and get a different suit, whatever, because she got separated from them. She comes back. They all make it to the drill. As they make it to the drill, they find out that like there's a lot of these monsters, like a shit ton of them. And they're all like, for whatever reason, hanging their arms down at like as kind of like kelp. So like they're trying to like walk in between the arms, and of course they fucking wake one of them up. Colleen Wing and her boyfriend make it into the door, and then Kristen Stewart like has to fight one with a flare gun,
and she gets almost all the way.
Yeah, she gets like swallowed, but then she shoots the flare gun and digs her way out, and then she gets in, and then they're all surviving in the drill, but the drill's in bad shape too. So they get to the escape pods, and there's 3 left. 2 are fine, 1 is not so fine. So she they put the sick dude in the one, they jettison it up, he's safe. She basically has to punch Colleen Wing to like get her into the other one. Seals it up, she goes up, she's fine too. The third one is basically not able to be saved. But as she's like watching the computer, it says like, oh, all the monsters are gonna get them because they're swimming faster than the bubbles are going up. I don't know how that's possible, but whatever. So she goes, oh, okay, well, I'll just blow this whole place up, and then the explosion will kill everything, but the bubbles will be safe, and everybody will live. Beep, boop, boop, core meltdown, big explosion. Cthulhu dies, and all of its babies die, and the bubbles survive.
Yep.
End of movie.
And we get a little news exposition that the company buried the disaster, saying there was nothing they could do, and it's all redacted and all that stuff. And there's only 2 survivors. That means everyone else that made it to the escape pods is dead.
Yeah, either dead or they got them locked away somewhere. One of the two. And maybe they got it because the media got to them first. That's why you still know about the other 2. I mean, who knows why? But yes, end of movie.
Yep.
So yeah, this is not my first time watching it. I watched it when it first came out. And I was surprised at how good it was. I know that Kristen Stewart can be a good actress. I know a lot of people are like, well, she was in Twilight, she sucked in Twilight. Yeah, she did.
Everyone
but that's
did.
because she fucking hated it. Like she didn't want to fucking do those movies. It was boring. It was stupid. She didn't really want to be there. Like her and Robert Pattinson, neither one of them wanted to fucking be there.
Right.
Robert Pattinson has obviously done some great shit afterwards, and so is she. I think she just gets a little bit more shade than Robert Pattinson does.
Right.
Because of that whole thing. But she has done some great performances since then. It's just I think everybody just keeps labeling her
as Bella Swan.
As that. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think like Dakota Johnson gets the same thing.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
she's a great actress, but like she can't live down that 50 Shades shit, man. Like it's hard to do. She fucking hated it. She wanted to get out of it. She was unfortunately contractually obligated to make 3 of them.
Right.
But yeah, she did not want to make the last 2. I don't even think she wanted to make the first one, but she was like, had to for money. Yeah. I'm guessing. But yeah, so yeah, they did a great job, and yeah, not a lot of people I think have talked about this movie much.
No. I think by the time this was released, TJ Miller started the downfall.
No, I think he was okay with this one. I think the downfall started right before Ready Player One. Because I think Ready Player One was the last movie he was in that where you were like, ooh, TJ Miller. Obviously they couldn't take his character out. It was too far gone at that point. But I remember I was like, oh, maybe they should not put him in the movie. I think he was okay with this movie, though. I honestly don't remember. No, it had to have been before that because Silicon Valley was before that.
Right? Oh, he had assaulted a driver by this point in time, and he was arrested for the bomb threat in 2018, so it was after the bomb threat.
Wow.
Yeah, this is his hearings were this point in time this movie coming out.
Yeah, interesting. But yeah, so yeah, and maybe that's why, I guess, the TJ Miller thing, and then Kristen Stewart being the lead and people thinking that Kristen Stewart isn't good, which is not true. But
yeah, I mean, we'll get into the whole Cthulhu of it all later on, I am sure. No, I mean, yes, this movie is kind of buried. They view it as, I think people view it as a generic disaster movie with a creature. Unfortunately,
yeah, I don't think that's fair. But
I don't think it's fair. I think that's just kind of the idea, is that it's once again not talked about. You're absolutely correct, and it deserves more.
Well, to me, yeah, it feels like a higher production value version of Cloverfield, but underwater.
It is.
That's what it feels to me like it is, and people buzz about fucking Cloverfield all the time, and I never hear anyone talking about this one.
Yeah. Do you want to go into your highlights first?
Sure. Okay. I really like the intro, like the like the news, clippings and like, the pictures and the jumping, how it kind of cut those into the opening credits. So that a lot of times the opening credits are just like, you're just watching a bunch of names go across the screen. Like, okay, when is stuff going to start happening? This at least gave you something to do while you're looking at all the names. I really like their underwater suits. I know it's supposed to be like near future, but I really thought they did a good job on those suits. I mean, obviously they're in the suits for most of the fucking movie, so I guess they had to make them interesting. But
yeah,
And they are cool looking, and it's interesting when you like the second time. I didn't really notice it the first time, but the second time watching it's interesting because they all have like their own kind of like flair to them. You know, like TJ Miller's character says a lot of like Alice in Wonderland quotes.
Yes.
And if you look like in the very back of his like suit on his like where his oxygen scrubber is, it says "We're all mad here."
Yes.
Which I thought, again, it's just cool, but they're all slightly different. Like TJ Miller has like the weird, like kind of like bar across the front of his that nobody else really has. Anyway, they're all like unique-ish.
Right.
And I thought that was pretty cool. And again, I thought the cast was great. I mean, like Kristen Stewart's great. TJ Miller, I miss TJ Miller.
Oh yeah.
Like he was great in a lot of stuff. Like as far as like, like nervous comedic relief, I mean, he was great at it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's done great in a lot of movies. It just sucks. I mean, I guess he's okay now, right? I think
he is now. Yes, it's been dropped.
Yeah, but like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah,
what's going on with him? I don't know. Maybe he got too famous too fast or something. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but like, he kind of blackballed a lot of movies in the process there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do miss him. I hope he comes back. I hope he's as good as he was before because he did good. But a fucked up dude. Anyway, the underwater effects in this movie were very good. They even had like when you step down, they have like there's a puff of like particulate stuff that pops up and doesn't go away, which is a lot of underwater stuff doesn't really show that, and it really did in this one. I thought that they really like kind of did their research on that. It looked good. I thought it was fun stuff. And like the actual like you felt like you were in danger when they're underwater, right? Like there's of course danger from the monster stuff, but like you understand that like they are very much in danger. Like they're hanging on by a thread like the entire time, right? Like from literally the first fucking scene of the movie, they're doing nothing but like running behind explosion stuff.
Right.
And yeah, and it's just like kind of a fast-paced movie, but it's I thought it was done really well. I enjoyed it. What about you?
Yeah, the cast was great. Like I said, TJ Miller, he plays that nervous nerd really well because he is. I feel like, and he had comedic parts obviously, and he with his protection of the the rabbit the entire time. You're right. It is a very claustrophobic movie. You felt claustrophobic, and once again, I'm just like, oh fuck, I'd be dead. I'm just like, it's essentially, yeah, it is that creature feature. It is, you said Cloverfield, but underwater, but also Deep Blue Sea as the facility is collapsing and things just kept getting filled with water in each different chambers and stuff like that, right?
Right.
And if you. I wouldn't say it's the Cthulhu sounded a lot like the Cloverfield monster, but it really did. And you hear it at the very beginning of the movie, and which I did not catch the first time watching because you didn't really know what to expect the first time. On the rewatches, I was able to say, "Oh, that's Cthulhu outside outside before the implosions start."
Right.
And they really felt like it was dirty. Now, the personalized suits, do I think that it's dumb just to have a personalized suit? Because yes, well, if your suit malfunctions, you're dead.
No, I mean, again, some of them their suits were generic because those are the people that never used the suit before. Like Colleen Wings was just a plain old generic suit because she didn't use a suit.
Right, like for me though, like Kristen Stewart's character is like, I'm smaller. I'm like, why are your suits that very different sizes? You're in a suit. The suit's going to be like the same material, except maybe slightly shorter.
Maybe they're custom fit. I don't know.
Yeah, and the creature effects I think were pretty good. They look like Cloverfield underwater, and realistically, a bad ending, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I guess the main protagonist dies anyway, so yeah.
And then the other two people are just going to be, the survivors are just going to be sanctioned and never they're going to probably lose their jobs because they're going to be told, the corporations then bury everything that happened. So they're going to be blackballed from working ever again.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess they could like leverage them. I mean, there's probably a lot of room for a sequel here, but
absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't think it did well enough.
And yeah, as you said, the effects were fantastic. You felt like you were in water with them.
Right.
I'll roll into my low points. Cthulhu. Pretty sure you can't kill Cthulhu with a nuclear explosion from a core.
Well, okay, to be fair, the only people we've ever seen fight Cthulhu were using weapons from the turn of the century. So we don't know if a nuclear explosion will kill Cthulhu. It very well might. I mean, the old gods did not have nuclear bombs, so you never know.
Why do you have thermal meltdown buttons programmed into everything that needs thermal meltdown?
That's on mine too. Okay, it's like this. Oh yeah. Oh man, how am I gonna stop all these monsters? Oh, core meltdown will do it, right? Beep boop boop boom. Really?
Not
that easy?
Not 2 keys. Not hitting a glass to break a button.
Right.
It's done.
Yeah, it's like three bars. She had to go zoop, like you're a DJ turning it up, right? She just went zoop, zip, zoop, and then pushed a fucking button, and it blew up a facility that's like, I mean, how many fucking billions of dollars would it have cost to build that fucking thing? And again, earlier in the fucking movie, she didn't have the code to fucking access systems, and you're telling me that in the brand new fucking drill that she is able to access the fucking bomb button, the blow up the core, nuclear core of the again, there's not many things that I don't like about this movie, but I think the end was ridiculous. Like there's no reason that she would have any access to that. There's no reason why a computer would ever have that ability. Like, do you know how many fucking safeguards are on any kind of nuclear fucking reactor?
Yeah.
I mean, like Chernobyl. Like if you read the story of Chernobyl, there was like literally like 10 fuck ups that had to happen for that to fucking explode like that.
Yes.
And it wasn't even an explosion that like, killed shit tons of people. It didn't kill anybody immediately. It killed a lot of people through radiation poisoning, but you know what I mean? But like it wasn't a huge monstrous explosion that would kill Cthulhu.
Right. And it's not like, oh, I'm a mechanical engineer. I know if I do these things that are safeguards, I can override it. Like, oh, I have to pull this core out, or I have to do, jam this thing in order for it to overheat and then cause meltdown. No, she just pushes buttons because she's a mechanical engineer and knows how to reset mainframes.
That's what I'm saying, but like nuclear fucking shit has so many goddamn safeguards. There's no fucking way in hell that pushing a bunch of buttons is going to make it melt down. I mean, I imagine that if you knew the right settings to push and no one was there to like counter it, because they have remote fucking connections to this shit.
Yes.
And that people would have seen, oh, what the fuck is this? It's going to blow up. Let's turn it off. Whatever. Again, even if this was ridiculous enough to have happened, it's not going to be, locked down.
Yes.
But I mean, there's so many things that have to happen before something like that would even happen. It would take like fucking years for something like that to happen with like the worst settings imaginable put on it.
Correct.
Like there's no way you can just go beep boop explode. No way.
When you're running low on the oxygen scrubber, that gives you a nice skull and crossbones on your suit. That's very nice design into that suit.
Well, that's the universal symbol for poison. So yeah, what else would you suggest that they use?
I don't know. Not turn everything to a neon bloodbath.
Okay, just because there was a band named Biohazard and they used the symbol for Biohazard does not mean that you have to use another symbol for Biohazard. That is the Biohazard symbol. So just because Skull and Crossbones were taken over by fucking pirates and punks and stuff like that does not mean that it does not still mean poison, because it does. That's poison. That means you will die if you breathe whatever this is, or drink, or eat. Poison.
And poor Archive 81, he knew that helmet was cracked.
He did.
He sacrificed himself.
You know what? That's enough. I mean, it sucks waiting for it to happen, but like, It's probably like the longest 5 seconds of your fucking life, I imagine. But once that thing cracked, like, you're out, dude. Like, there's no suffering. It's just snap, you are gone.
And once again, I'm not sure, being in the deepest part of the ocean and you go up that fast, that decompression, once again, it's not going to happen. Especially when two of them were breathing poorly circulated air the entire time.
Well, those bubbles, I guarantee you, did not open when they got to the top.
Yeah.
I guarantee you they did not open, and they had to get hooked up and fucking decompressed for a very long time.
Maybe.
I'm because you can do that as long as the little thing that you were in is still somehow able to maintain that level of compression. But like, you can't just open up the door and then go out into normal compression. You'll fucking die. So they have to like slowly change the pressure to equal out. I imagine the emergency bubble thing would have a facility to do that in.
You'd hope so. That's why. Why don't you go into your low points?
Like I said, there's not a whole lot that I did not like about this movie. I was like, towards the end, I was like struggling, like shit. I usually have a lot of stuff to complain about. I don't have a lot to complain about. But anyway, I would say, like, one, I didn't like the goofy slow motion explosions. They only do it a couple of times, but it's like unnecessary. I guess it was like a sticky thing around this time period to like do, oh, there's an explosion, stop time for a second. Right? And then like speed it up to show them bouncing or flying somewhere, and then freeze frame again to show them in the air. And then let it happen in real time again. Like they did that around this time period in like every fucking movie. But they did that. It is annoying. But not too annoying. But again, yeah, like you said, that core meltdown. Fucking beep boop boop boom. I'll just blow up this fucking $1 trillion fucking facility. There's no way in hell that they would allow you to do that. There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go in and fucking throw a hand grenade in that fucking core and it would not fucking blow up. Right. And again, like I said, without like the codes, without like the ability to do that, like she's just a fucking, and she's a mechanical engineer.
Yes.
She doesn't know how to fucking blow up a nuclear fucking reactor, like top of the fucking line.
Right.
Whatever.
All right, so I'll go first for number of oxygen tanks out of 10. I do enjoy this movie, even the nitpicking stuff, because it is nitpicking. Let's face it. I think this is a solid entry again. I like it a little more than Leviathan. Now, granted, I've only seen Leviathan once. I've seen this a couple of times now, but I will give this. Is it perfect? No, but is it entertaining? Yes. So I will give this 8.5. How about you?
Yeah, I like this movie a lot. I think the performances are great. I think the world is great. I think the effects is great. I think everything's pretty fantastic. So, I'm going to give this movie a 9. 9 oxygen tanks out of 10.
Oh yeah, they could even said this is part of the Cloverfield universe. I've been okay with it.
Well, again, it's like essentially Cloverfield but underwater. It's like the same thing. A big giant monster that has little baby monsters that fall out of it.
Yep,
it's like the same thing.
Yes. All right. So we'll get into Haunted Pool, the movie. AKA Night Swim. I'm not going to dwell too much on this plot, because if you've seen every haunted house movie, you've seen this movie, but Haunted Pool.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It goes like this. Like Haunted Pool. One person goes in Haunted Pool, sees something, doesn't tell anyone. Second person goes in Haunted Pool, doesn't see anything, doesn't tell anyone. Second person goes, hey, did you see something in that pool? Second person, nope. Third person goes in the fucking pool, sees something haunting, and this time something bad happens. And the other two go, oh yeah, we saw something bad happen too. Why'd you fucking warn people before number 3 happened?
Yes. So anyway, like I said, that's pretty much plot of it, the movie.
that's the plot. That's the first 2/3 of the movie. And then the last is like, oh no, it's an evil pool.
We gotta stop the evil.
Yeah, the evil pool needs to kill someone in order for someone else to be healed by the, spring waters that can heal people. But it needs life energy, or it needs sacrifice in order to do so.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, like I said, I'll throw little caveats in here. Opening scene, little girl goes swimming to get her brother's toy boat, and she disappears. And then the next, here cliche horror, haunted movie cliche. Oh, a family needs to move into the house where someone just died.
To be fair, they died like 20 years ago.
Yeah. The realtor didn't tell them of this. Well, buying the house.
She also didn't know at that time.
Well, maybe. Well, parents, this time it's played by Wyatt Russell is the father, and he is he just got forced out of baseball because he has MS. Now, Wyatt Russell is 37 years old, which is damn old for a baseball player to begin with. Anyway, but yeah, he has MS, so he's walking with cane. He gets, into the pool, and essentially a wish gets granted. He wishes to play baseball again. Boom, plot of the movie is moving forward. Then spooky stuff starts happening, and his character starts getting better while swimming in the pool. They're like, oh, you almost drowned, and this is the deep end, so let's put this plastic solar cover on the pool. That will stop people from falling in the pool.
Okay. One thing that fucking bothered the shit out of me about that fucking cover, right?
Yes.
The pool is not rectangular. The pool has like two like bubbles that come off the side for like the stairs and shit. The cover doesn't even cover those.
No.
So what the fuck is the point of this cover? Like she said, let's get this cover because we don't want things falling in because they thought their cat fell into it.
Correct.
So they put a cover that doesn't even fucking cover the whole pool. What's the point?
Oh, there. That reminds me of the cat. Haunted house plot thread. Cat immediately dies when moving into a haunted house the next day.
Exactly.
So anyway, the dad's getting better, and then scary stuff starts happening. They kind of go like into, let's call it the same space that the main guy goes into in Get Out, but underwater, where it just, the pool seems to be like in its own alternate dimension, and you can only see up. You see the rectangle light, which is the light. So anyway, dad gets better. And they have a pool party because, of course, spooky stuff happens. And he, is playing chicken with a kid, and he backs into the deep end and gets possessed by haunted pool. He almost kills the kid. And then he goes into father possessed by haunted entity and haunted house cliche number 10. And he starts going a little crazy. The wife does a lot of research by aka talking to the mother of the girl that had died however many years previously, whose son is alive, and she is also somehow still being controlled by the pool and being possessed by it. So she has murky water coming out of her eyes and her nose into her oxygen tank, and we learned that this it's a natural springs fed pool, which is a rarity. Even the pool guy said so. Hinting that this was an ancient area where people went to heal themselves. And she goes, the story of a wishing well, but this wish, you have to sacrifice someone to get your wish. So essentially, we found out the mother wished for her son to get better and killed her daughter in the process, or sacrificed her daughter to it. So mom's like, oh, we got to get dad out of here. He drives away. Oh, he's too attached to the pool. Therefore, he can't leave. Which I'd say he was just as possessed. Maybe as the mother from the previous house.
Right, but like she knew this and fucking left him at home alone.
Yes.
While she was like going to investigate shit. So like if you really thought the pool was that fucking evil, why the fuck did you leave him home alone? Especially when it was like near death at that point.
Yeah. So anyway, she's very late. Kids come home. Dad's gone crazy. The son goes into the pool. He's the one that has to be sacrificed. Dad fights off daughter. Daughter starts attacking him. Mom dives, takes a, 15-foot water hose, and ties it off and uses it. Her son has been under there for who knows how long. And she dives in, meets all the spooky entities of the things, and she meets the ghost entity of the daughter that died. She's like, oh, you're going the wrong way. She takes the wishing coin and drops it and sees that's going down. She's like, oh, you're going the wrong way. Mother comes out, son's not breathing. Dad gets out. She gets hit in his really bad leg by the baseball bat in the head a few times, enough to get a little bit of the pool evil out of him. It's like, oh man, he's not gonna, the son's not gonna live unless someone makes a sacrifice. Haunted horror movie cliche number 15. Dad has to sacrifice himself for the kids to live. He dies, and they go, you know what? We shouldn't move. Dad wouldn't want that because someone else could find this pool. So let's bury it in dirt. And the move. Did I miss anything important there? I don't think I did.
No. The funny part is I just recently heard of someone that had an in-ground pool in their backyard that they just filled it in with dirt. Like literally, it was like a week ago. Somebody told me that story, and I was like, "Why the hell would you ever do that?" I guess this is why.
Yeah. Yep.
Long story short, this is not a great movie. So, I'll do my high points first.
Yeah.
Again, I usually try to have a few, even if it's a bad movie. I had a really, really hard time finding anything. Everything was just so generic in this movie. But I will say, like the dad's performance in being like slowly kind of possessed, because in the beginning of the movie he's kind of an asshole anyway. So even before the pool got to him, he was kind of an asshole. So it really was, I think, an easy transition for the dark water to like make him bad, because he was already kind of a dick anyway.
Yes.
So again, that transition from like him just being a kind of a shitty dad and a dick to being like an evil dad was an interesting transition. I will say that was okay. That's all I got. What do you got?
I mean, I think Wyatt Russell did a good job in the movie.
Yeah, that's it.
They hinted, this is a partial high point, they hinted at potential greater lore, but didn't really go into it.
Yeah, they literally said like, "Oh, it's been here for a while." That's it. that's the old lore. Oh, it's been here for a while. Oh, it looks like it happened to other people before. That's it. That's all you get.
I'll go into my low points because that's pretty much what I got. This is quite. I mean, yes. Are they doing something new? Has there been a haunted pool movie before? Not that I'm aware of. Doesn't mean there needed one.
Yeah, again, it's like there's a lot of things that haven't been haunted, and there's reasons for that.
Yes. I'm saying that filling in the evil spring with dirt is probably not going to stop it. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's water. Water can move dirt.
Yeah, you're just asking for a sinkhole or something like equally catastrophic.
Yeah. And like I said, Wyatt Russell is 37, almost 38. Most baseball players, let alone third basemen, don't live to be in the league for that long. Not live, but they're not major leaguers forever, right? Usually only pitchers make it into their 40s and designated hitters. So him being a third baseman at his age, he probably was not going to get back into it. Let's face it.
Well, yeah, but no one else is saying that he's going to get back into it except for him.
Yes.
Absolutely no one has any inkling of like, hey, you should get back into it because I think you can do it. He's the only one that can't give it up.
Right.
And that's okay. I understand how a guy that, he probably had maybe one more season in him, but he got hit with MS,
right.
So like he just physically can't do it. And now he's like, oh, well, if my MS goes away, I can do one more. But it's like everybody else is like, can you though? Like, this is the time. Like, the MS was just the time for you to stop. Like, even if you didn't have MS, it's still probably time for you to stop. Like, you weren't a great player as it was. So like, just get over it.
Correct. Okay. And so he decides to do his own home therapy and bench pressing. Free weight bench pressing is his way of doing his own physical therapy. I'm sorry. If you have MS, maybe you should have someone that could lift the bar off of you if you can't pick it up. Your 10-year-old son not lifting the 100 or 200 pounds weights off of your body in case you have an episode while doing it.
Well, at this point, he's already been taken over by the pool.
Yeah.
And his obsession with getting back to playing baseball overrides his survival instinct. So, like, he doesn't give a shit about surviving or being in danger. He only gives a shit about him filming him benching a whole bunch of weight so he can send it out and say, look, I can still do it.
Yes.
That's the obsession is at that point where he literally is more obsessed than he is worried about his own life.
But a couple scenes before that, when he was doing PT with a doctor, he just goes, you know what? I'm going to turn up my treadmill myself. You don't do that in PT. You don't get to make that call.
Yeah, and the guy just doesn't say a fucking word.
He just looks at it.
That's not how this works. It's a very specific test that they're running.
Yes. No, I'm good. I'm just going to change this. Cool? All right.
Yeah.
I at one point in time when they're looking for that little pool filter flap, right? I expected Pennywise the Clown to go, Georgie?
Well, it was the same fucking scene, essentially.
It absolutely was. It was that scene. I expected that to be hands down, to be Pennywise the Clown, just be there because it's that scene. I mean, I guess the kids weren't bad, but it's still, it is interesting. I don't know anyone that goes, I'm a Major League Baseball player and, I need to be close to Major Leagues. And he goes, I'm moving to Minnesota. Are you though? Are you?
Well, he was playing for Milwaukee, so I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know why he went up there, but
I don't know either. Yeah, and the mom kind of just leaving. I think something's wrong with my husband. I'll just leave him at home with the kids.
Right. When he was like near fucking death, like he couldn't even move.
Yeah.
No, even the kids weren't there to look at him. He leaves left completely alone.
Right. And that magical solar cover. I'm sorry, solar covers are very flexible. You can't just have only one end on the reel and just reel it out and have it just go across the pool by itself. Doesn't work that way.
Well, it doesn't work that way. And also, like, there's several scenes where people were like, quote unquote, trapped under the thing. Like, yes. Again, like I said, there's two bubbles on the side that are stairs.
Yeah,
just go over there. Like, it's a fucking solar cover. It's not like gonna stick to your skin. Like, you could just push it up. Yeah, you might not be able to get out, but you can breathe.
Yes.
It's like, I don't think you guys understand the physics involved with a solar cover. It's not as dangerous as you think it is.
And I don't own a pool, but I have done work on pools with chlorine, stuff like that. I'm pretty certain in a natural spring pool, when its natural spring is refilled by the spring, no amount of chlorine you put into it at one point in time is ever going to keep the natural spring water chlorinated enough.
They never actually showed them putting chemicals in the pool. He was just testing the water.
That's fair.
So I guess he was testing the water to see if it's safe or whatever. But he did say, yeah, it's ready, meaning like they did something about it.
Correct. But I'm just going, that's not how springs work.
Maybe it just had to be filtered. I don't know. But like the pool tech guy was like, oh, it filters itself. I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
No, it does not. And yeah, that is the cleanest looking spring water I've ever seen in my life. When they're using it, it's clear.
Oh, it can be, but not in fucking Minnesota.
No. All right, that's what I got. What about you?
Okay. I'll start as a list. So, one, like she fucking touches the goddamn cricket. She like saves the cricket from the pool. Why? Why do you have to touch the cricket? It was disgusting. Anyway, they're cheesy fucking family bullshit. Like before, like the pool got involved, was like so cringy, cheesy. Man, I was like almost gonna fast forward through it. I had a hard time watching it. It was so fucking cheesy bullshit. Anyway, I call it swim-o-vision when they're like somehow trying to like show the POV of a person swimming. but it's going too slow to be that person swimming. So I don't know what the fuck they were trying to do with the camera, but it's like very disorienting, and like I hated it. Like when the mom was swimming in the pool and they kept like swinging it back and fucking forth. What's the fucking point of that? I don't understand, but it was very disorienting. It was a terrible, terrible job with the camera there. Now there is a lot of bad parenting that was happening there. Like the dad was just did not give a shit what the kids did. Like, you know, mom was like, "Oh, don't swim alone. Bring your dad with you." Dad's like, "Yeah, here's a quarter. Go throw it in the pool and go find it, you know, underwater by yourself." Good job, Dad.
Yep.
Again, I already talked about the cover not actually covering the stairs on the side or not being dangerous in any way. The kids are just fucking stupid. They keep going back to the fucking pool even after they know and talk to each other about it being fucking evil. They still keep fucking around with it.
Oh yeah.
I don't think the movie people understand like the physics of things being in the pool, because sometimes they float, sometimes they sink, sometimes they're on the bottom, sometimes they're on the top. Like that's not how objects work in a pool. It's either one or the other. They're either floating or they're sinking, and they can't do fucking both. And if they are doing both, obviously supernatural shit is involved. You should get out of there. Now, I laughed out loud. I had to pause the movie because I was laughing too hard to like figure out what was going on. When the daughter is playing Marco Polo.
Yes.
She is like, Marco Polo. And all of a sudden she gets trapped in the pool dimension, and her boyfriend that was in the pool with her is no longer there. And she says, Marco, and this green monster pops up behind her and says, Polo. It is the dumbest looking fucking monster I've ever seen in my life. It looks like, I don't know, if you had a child that was like 6 years old make a pool monster out of fucking Play-Doh. That's what it looked like. And it goes like it literally said it like it was a fucking joke. And then she's like, how are you scared of that? Like it looks like a child's version of a monster. And I was saying like all the monsters that were in this, you know, like most of them just look like people. Like they didn't even have any, but the ones that were like trying to look like monsters, they literally looked like the pictures of like, you know, quote unquote monsters from like, you remember the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark?
Yes.
They all look like that. Like they're like kid versions of scary monsters. They were not actually fucking scary at all.
Correct.
But that green monster, holy shit, dude. That was fucking hilarious. I was dying laughing. The water effects for this movie being all about fucking water, right? Like they were still using CGI to show like the black water.
Yeah.
Like it is extremely easy to just like put like food coloring or like black water in something. I mean, it's not that hard to do, and then you can have like it looks real because it is fucking real. No, they were using like CGI to show like dark water going down the shower drain, and it looks like total shit. Like the guy must have spent like 5 minutes, like in a like, oh shit, I forgot to do that part. Like, let me do it real fast. 5 minutes. Yeah, but it was just not good, and they use that effect a lot, and it just looks like trash every single time. And then the hose that she uses at the end. One, they can't decide what she's going to use this hose for. What is the purpose of this hose? They don't even fucking know, right? So she like disconnects it from the spigot where it was like secured to. Then she just puts a half knot on it to the fucking diving board and then jumps in the water. First she's using it to like, you know, I guess climb back up. But then she realizes, oh, I need to keep going further. So then she takes a fucking breath out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's kinked and tied around a fucking pole. There's no fucking air coming out of that thing. Like,
well, and considering it's attached to a spigot, probably water.
Well, no, she did unconnect it from the spigot, and then she tied a knot and then tied it around the diving board pole.
I mean, but I'm
saying
it
was very clearly kinked.
Yeah,
there was very clearly no fucking. Well, whatever. It was so fucking stupid. I'm like, really? Like no one fucking this passed muster like this. And there's a couple of scenes that it was like when the kids were throwing up, quote unquote, throwing up the dark water. They were making like these heaving noises, and then they would cut to you wouldn't see anybody's face or anything, but it was supposed to be like them puking black water on the ground. And you could very clearly tell it was just somebody dumping out black water from a bucket. It was so bad. Like, they didn't even try to pretend like it was coming out of a person. They just like dumped it with a bucket and then like dubbed over their fucking pukey sounds over it. It was, yeah, this movie's bad.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
For sure.
Go ahead.
Do you want to go first for number of oxygen tanks out of 10?
2. This movie gets 2 oxygen tanks out of 10. It's terrible.
2, huh? Wow. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty bad. Is it the worst movie ever? No. Is it the worst movie we've seen this year?
Yes.
2024, yes. Let's look at the scores. Yes, it is. Yeah, I will agree. I will also give it a 2. It is atrocious. It is bad. I do not suggest watching this. Like I said, if you've seen any haunted house movie, just take all those cliches and that's a pool movie. I'm so glad this got to digital. We didn't have to go sit in theaters.
I would have been mad if I was in the theater.
All right, anything else to add about this special underwater episode?
Nope.
All right, well, grab your pen and search for gold. Move out west to make sure your wildest dreams come true, but beware of the unknown and don't trust the gunslingers. Join us next week as we head out on our trusty steeds with classic Wild West horrors with Bone Tomahawk, Ravenous, and Eyes of Fire. I'm excited for this. I know this is your idea, and like I said, I have not seen either of these or any of these movies. So
I've seen the first 2. I haven't seen the third one, but the third one is kind of what they call a lost movie.
Right.
It just was recently kind of resurfaced. So I think it came out in the 80s, but like no one saw it. And it was kind of lost to time, and it just recently came back in.
Right. Yeah. And as you pointed out before, is something that we watched and learned about because of In Search of Darkness, where the last In Search of Darkness in the 80s was kind of all the video nasties and kind of like the straight to VHS that most people didn't know about or was shown once somewhere at one point in time. So yeah, I'm excited for this. Next week should be good. But remember, we watch bad movies, so you don't have to. And this has been Graveyard saying, have you checked on the children?
As the Salem saying, long live the new flesh.
Good night.
Night.